So welcome, guys. This is the first of hopefully many Summerslam results analysis and review show. I am your host, Chris Miles. This is being broadcast right now live on TalariaNews.com. That is TALARIA News.com. Hoping to get any of your questions, any results. That's a very soft launch, so I'm trying to just go through the show, make sure we get all the results out of the way. Anything that you guys want to know, anything that you guys think that's going to happen, you want my view on where some storylines are going and how some matches came out, I'll be here. So I'll be here for a little bit longer, so I'm just going to get right into the show. The show kicked off with Hulk Hogan. That was obviously cool. It's always cool to see the Hulks there, especially now back in 2014, not in TNA. So it was cool to see him. The intro was obviously very well done. WWE is no joke when it comes to the intros. So I'm going to go over the first match. The introductory match was for the Intercontinental title. It was The Miz defending against Dolph Ziggler. I was very happy that they kicked the pay-per-view off with that match. That match is exactly how you want to kick the pay-per-view off. It was action-packed. It was for a quote-unquote prestigious title. It was very it was very good. It was a very good match, and The Miz is vastly underrated. A lot of the internet wrestling community, myself included, don't really know what to think of The Miz. The Miz has had a up and down career in the WWE, so putting the title on him, giving his new heel character a little bit of a push. Dolph Ziggler had a great match with him. It was very back and forth. I thought they did a great job, and putting the title on Ziggler was huge. That was a huge. That was an absolutely huge move for them. That was great. So Ziggler is now the Intercontinental Champion. Fans are happy. You get the night off on a great start. And don't think that the WWE is stupid, because they gave that title to Dolph Ziggler, who the fans absolutely love, knowing that the renewals are coming up for their network. So obviously there's a little bit of incentive there for them to put the title on Ziggler, but fans are happy. They got Ziggler. They got the title back on Ziggler, so you can't be too upset with that. So our first question comes from Michael Shaw. His question is, hang on just one sec. What are your overall thoughts on the night? Well, it was the second best pay-per-view of the year. Overall, it probably had a little more of a rating in a purely wrestling standpoint from WrestleMania 30. WrestleMania 30 had obviously the two big Daniel Bryan matches and the Cena Wyatt match, which were great, but everything else kind of was, the Lesnar Undertaker match was obviously shocking, but as a match it wasn't that great. There were really no bad matches tonight. A lot of matches exceeded my expectations, and a lot of matches went, way past my expectations. And I feel like WWE did a great job tonight on the overall feel of the show. I thought they kind of had a pulse on what was going on, what the fans wanted, and where they're going to be going from here on out. So thanks for the question, Mike. And yeah, I thought the show was probably the second best for the year. I think WrestleMania 30 probably just eclipses it more because it's just obviously WrestleMania. So after Ziggler and Miz, we had AJ against Paige for the Divas Championship, and I predicted that AJ might get kind of a fluky win. I didn't think they were going to give the title right back to Paige, but they went ahead and gave it to Paige, and in result, they had probably one of the best Divas matches since since Lita and Trish left. So that was obviously something that was unexpected on my end. I did not think Paige would get it back, and you kind of forget that she's 22 years old. She is 22 years old. She's not even near her prime yet. She's going to be around forever. And AJ is obviously a huge foe for her. And I like the fact that they kind of flipped the tables. When Paige debuted, she was the face, and AJ became the heel. AJ came back, Paige became the heel, and AJ became the face. So it was awesome to see that this storyline is definitely not over yet. So Paige gets the title back, which is obviously a big deal. So that's going to keep going. The Divas division is in great hands. And our next match of the night was the flag match. Jack Swagger with Zeb Colter against Rusev with Lana. And this was one of those matches that I didn't think was going to really go anywhere. I thought, okay, you know what? This match could wind up being a show stealer in some sense. But mostly I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. And I am so happy that I was wrong, because Jack Swagger and Rusev put out a hell of a contest. It was back and forth, the back and forth submissions. Rusev did an absolutely awesome job selling the ankle. He, got the ankle lock put on him a couple times in the match, and he actually sold it like, ow, my ankle's messed up. So it was, really refreshing to see Rusev look weak. He's been absolutely dominant since he came in. No one has really gotten him, to look weak. And for Swagger to be able to do it, not only does a lot for Swagger, but it'll actually help Rusev in the long term. I think it will absolutely help Rusev. The intro for Swagger was awesome, with the Marines coming out with the flag march and everything, and the USA pop, and the crowd was obviously 100% behind Swagger. I do like that they did not make Swagger submit. They still found a way to make, they found a way to make Swagger stay strong, and they found a way to make Rusev even more of a badass. And how they did it was making Swagger pass out to the acolyte. So, was Rusev winning the right move? Yeah. They have a hot thing going with Rusev, and it's only a matter of time before they reach a point with him where they're going to have to make him move eventually. But Swagger was not the right guy, unfortunately. As hot as the storyline is, as likely as we are to see it again at Night of Champions, Swagger is not the guy to end the streak. So that was a good match, and so far I give all those matches 3 stars. That was a great match all the way through. When we hit the number 4 match, we had the match of the night so far. We had Dean Ambrose against Seth Rollins, 2 former members of the Shield, in a lumberjack match. And in my prediction show, I commented how underwhelming it was for Ambrose and Rollins to be in a lumberjack match. All the matches you could have put these guys in a cage match, could have put them in a Hell in a Cell match. Obviously you can't because of the pay-per-view, but they could have put him in a no holds barred match, even just something even as simple as that, maybe a last man standing match. But no, they put him in a lumberjack match. It was an excuse, I guess, to get all the people on the roster on the card. So I can't be too mad about that. But the match was awesome. You're not going to expect anything less from Rollins and Ambrose. Anytime they got outside the ring, the Lumberjacks were more than fair. I felt like the Lumberjacks kind of got involved a little too much. But you know what? It speaks to the anarchy and the chaos that this storyline has. Ambrose is an obvious loose cannon. They're going with the Brian Pillman kind of storyline for him, kind of just a loose cannon who can snap at any time. Rollins is the cocky, arrogant heel. Those were absolutely those were some awesome moments of the show, and probably up to that point of the pay-per-view, probably the highlights of the show was getting into the crowd, fighting into the crowd, Ambrose diving into the crowd, and then jumping off the top rope onto all the Lumberjacks and Rollins and everybody. The only thing I didn't like was Kane coming out. I think that Corporate Kane has kind of overstayed his welcome a little bit. They kind of really pussied out on Kane, bottom line. They started Kane off as Corporate Kane, and then when Bryan won the title, they went right back to evil, masked Kane. He had a bit of a beatdown on Bryan. Bryan got hurt, and then all of a sudden, now he's just kind of lost in the shuffle. And now they're going to put him with Ambrose. This Rollins and Ambrose storyline is not over. So I hope they don't go with Kane against Ambrose, but that's certainly looks like the case. So that match was probably the best of the night so far, about 3.5 stars. So overall, we've had 4 3-star matches at minimum, which, obviously is a start to a great pay-per-view. And then it went downhill a little bit. We had one more 3-star match. We had Bray Wyatt against Y2J, Chris Jericho. That was what we should have had at Battleground. Their match at Battleground was pretty disappointing. They had Rowan and Harper at his disposal. Wyatt had Rowan and Harper at his disposal, like the family at his disposal. This match, he did not have the family at his disposal. Just Bray against Jericho. And Bray got the clean win over Jericho. That does a lot for him. He's going to be a good guy by the next couple weeks. I think he has those cell phones and everything is just looking great for him. So I would imagine that he will turn face eventually. I would say in the next probably month or two. It really has no direction. I don't know where they're going to go from here. There's no Chris Jericho coming back for him. It's going to just be Bray and nothing. So maybe a cool storyline would be maybe Seth Rollins. If they're going to go Ambrose Kane, maybe they can go Seth Rollins. But they need to figure out what they're going to do with Bray. Bray is too talented. It should be just kind of wasting away, floating around aimlessly with no direction. That's not how it should be. So, yes, I was happy that Bray won, and that's the match they should have had at Battleground. But now he kind of got that redemption back. It was good to see Bray kind of trying to come back from that victory. We never really saw him weak when Cena was around. He's kind of stayed strong throughout that whole thing. I think that really hurt him. But he did manage to come out of it virtually unscathed. So, yeah, that was definitely something interesting. All right, I'm going to take another question. Let's take another question from Mike. Mike asks, was there anything that's been set up for tonight? What are you looking forward to? There was a lot set up tonight. We had, like I said, Bray Wyatt might be becoming a good guy again. Not again, for the first time. I'm sorry. Paige and AJ is far from over. Paige got the title back from AJ after she lost it to AJ. Then obviously we had Ziggler and Miz. I don't think that's over. I think they should just kind of keep that going a little bit longer. Obviously Miz will get his rematch. And then we had Ambrose getting Rollins. Ambrose getting Kane. So there was a lot set up tonight, and I will continue with that in a little bit. The next match, Stephanie McMahon against Brie Bella. When I tell you I expected this match to be an absolute shit show, I expected this match to be an absolute shit show. But Stephanie turned in probably the best performance of her career. She just kind of wore down, and JR tweeted out during the night that it was just typical heel tactics. It was slowing the match down, being the bully, and then being on the retreat, and then eventually getting the upper hand on everything. So, yeah, it was definitely cool to see Bray Wyatt. I'm sorry, Bray Wyatt. It's 11:30 at night here, so I'm kind of losing it. It was cool to see Stephanie McMahon get her ass kicked for a little bit from Brie Bella. Now, as soon as Triple H came out, in my head I'm thinking, oh man, Daniel Bryan comes out right now, this crowd's going to explode. But they did not. Nikki Bella came out, and you could tell from a mile away what was coming next. Nikki turns on Brie, Stephanie wins the match. They're going to go with Nikki against Brie. Stephanie wins the match to end that feud. I like it. It gives Brie a reason to be mad at her sister and start this storyline, while putting an effective end to that one and showing, all right, the McMahons will always get what they want. So that was absolutely the point of this match. There was no other point. And again, I did enjoy the match. I thought it was going to be an absolute clusterfuck, but it was great. It was great. And the next match, Randy Orton against Roman Reigns, I thought, okay, this is going to be a fucking clusterfuck also. But even that match wasn't as bad as I anticipated. Reigns passed his first big test in the WWE, his first big solo match, one-on-one. Randy Orton was not the right opponent for him. Randy Orton relies a lot on ring psychology and rest holds. They started the match out enough of a brawl where it wasn't too outrageous. But it kind of died off in the middle of the match. Kind of just became, rest holds and all that stuff. And the finish was okay. I did not mind the finish. I gave it 2.5 stars. I still feel like Orton was not the best opponent for him. And Reigns did all he can do, but here's where I have an issue. Roman Reigns is so athletic. This guy was a defensive tackle at Georgia Tech. Okay? He's not a joke athlete. He's an actual proven athlete. When you're that athletic, you should have more moves than the kick from the apron, Samoan drop, the Superman punch, and the spear. It's almost insulting to the audience that a guy this good that you're trying to push as like this big name guy can't have more than 6 moves. Okay? That's how you're going to get the audience to turn on you. The audience is going to turn on you. There's no doubt about it in my mind. They already started tonight. When he came out, he had a mix of cheers and boos. If you want Roman Reigns to be taken seriously by the overpopulated smart crowds that are in every audience, you need to give him more moves, or else he's going to sink. And I don't want to see Reigns sink. I like Reigns. I think Reigns has a bright future and looks imposing, and with a little bit of work, he could be a huge, huge player. I've heard Stone Cold Steve Austin say it. Jim Ross has said it. The Rock, for obviously biased reasons, but The Rock has said it. This guy is going to be a star, and if you want him to just get continually cheered, fans want a badass like this, but they want someone who can actually go in the ring. They don't want someone who just has every move is a punch, and then a Samoan drop, a kick from the floor to the apron, a Superman punch, and a spear. That's not what the fans want. They want someone who can actually go. So, that is something that they need to work on immediately, because he's just going to slide a slippery, he's right here now, and he's just going to slide a slippery slope all the way down, because these fans are going to turn on him and tell it. I think hopefully they got that message tonight, and go from there. Before we hit the main event, we saw the preview, which obviously made me very happy, for SummerSlam 2015, live from New York and New Jersey, my hometown, my backyard, and I will absolutely be there next year at 2015 SummerSlam. I've never been to a SummerSlam. I've been to WrestleMania's, one Survivor Series at the Garden, Madison Square Garden, but I never went to a SummerSlam, so I'm excited to go to a SummerSlam. That was just something for me. Last match of the night, the main event match, Brock Lesnar against John Cena. It's tough for me to think of a better year than Brock Lesnar has had this year. He came back the Raw before the new year. So he came back at the end of 2013, I think it was December 30th or something like that. He comes back, says he wants the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, beats the Big Show senseless at Royal Rumble, gets challenged by The Undertaker, does the absolute unthinkable, and ends The Undertaker's undefeated streak at WrestleMania. 21-1. Brock Lesnar becomes the one behind 21-1. And right there, you can end your career and you are already a legend. But no, this guy takes a break and comes back, challenges 15-time world champion. And I know a lot of people are upset that it's a 15-time champion, but think of it from the actual kayfabe standpoint. He is a 15-time champion. There's no joke. This is the biggest name in the last decade by far. There's nobody bigger than John Cena, like it or not. And Brock Lesnar absolutely dominated him the entire match. I think Cena got in, without a few fury of punches, he probably got in like 2 minutes of offense in a 20-minute match. Brock Lesnar got 16 German suplexes on him. 2 F5s. 2 F5s. Thought he was going to go for 3. I thought that they were going to do the Undertaker, John Cena. John Cena kicks out of 3 F5s, but wasn't meant to be. Brock Lesnar walks away WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And I know a lot of people are going to say, you can't have a part-time guy be the champion. You can't do it. Bullshit. If you listen to an interview that Paul Heyman had, I forget who it was with, it might have been with IGN or somebody else, but he brought up a great point, and it's that the WWE Championship, World Heavyweight Championship, has been completely devalued. The 15-time champion John Cena, it doesn't hold as much weight as it did when Bruno had the title, or when Hogan had the title. Now, obviously, business has evolved tremendously since then. There's a lot more times where you have to defend the title and a lot more responsibility that the champion has and all these different things. But think of it like this. The next few title fights are going to be enormous. They're going to be huge. The feel of this Brock Lesnar-John Cena fight before the match was huge. When they're standing in the ring, I had goosebumps. I haven't been that excited for a championship match since, Punk Cena, probably from Money in the Bank. They did a great job of building this up, and Brock Lesnar, every time this guy defends the title now, it's going to be a huge deal. People are going to want to see this title match. And Lesnar just goes about his business, and he continues being the biggest name in the history of... Not the biggest name. He is the most legitimate name in the history of this company. When you think of fighters, when you think of absolute beasts, Lesnar is the guy who brings legitimacy to WWE and the championship now. This guy is an actual NCAA heavyweight champion, an actual former UFC heavyweight champion. He's a beast. He's an absolute monster. And having this guy just decimated John Cena, I didn't think they were going to do it. I did not think that they would have John Cena lose to Brock Lesnar. So, you have Lesnar decimate John Cena, and all his matches from now on are going to be must-see. And like I said, him not being on the pay-per-views sometimes might not be a bad thing. It might be the best thing for this championship. It might be one of the better things to happen. So, that was the rundown of the pay-per-view. Again, right on the right side here, I have some questions, Q&A. If any of you have any questions or anything, we have one right now from Mike. Mike asks, what were the best moments and matches of the night? This is a question that is asked for at the end of every results show or analysis show. The best moments of the night were Brock Lesnar winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. The Ambrose-Rollins match were great. Ziggler winning the Intercontinental Championship was a great start to the night. But the match of the night was probably a tie between Ambrose and Rollins in the Lumberjack match and Lesnar and Cena. That's what I'd have to go with. That's probably the best match of the night. So that is our analysis show. That's our review show. I will be back next month. This is a pre-launching show. This is something that we will do next year. Next year. Again, it's really late. Next month for Night of Champions, I'm sure we'll have a Cena Lesnar rematch. I'm sure a lot of the matches tonight are going to be redone in September, but with a bigger scale because they're going to want network codes. So we're going to go from there. Again, any questions or anything, hit me up on Twitter. This is on Talaria News, Talaria News.com. We will be doing the actual launch at the beginning of September. So hopefully we can continue improving this podcast. Thanks, guys.